Hello everybody. Sorry about the quality of this video. Sorry about my voice too. I just was choking and a bit of carryover into this video. So not very professional, but you know what? I'm not going to edit it. I'm just going to run with it. The quality of the video, it's because it's night time, so I do apologise. Now look, we've got many competitors heading down to Bendigo in Victoria this weekend for a bodybuilding show. And whilst 99% of people in a Shenbury PT program are not bodybuilders and do not want to be bodybuilders, I thought it's a good time to talk about the whole body recomposition process because as bodybuilders, we take it to a very, very extreme level, and a lot of people will think then that a lot of the stuff we do is useless. However, in terms of body recomposition, the lessons that we learn from competing in bodybuilding ourselves carry over really nicely for somebody who's just looking to drop a bit of body fat and maybe put on a little bit of lean muscle in the gym. And we're just talking about an average person looking just to get into some good shape. We're not talking about bodybuilding in any way, shape or form. However, the really basic principles carry over. So first up, we're training with weights. We know we're training with weights. We're trying to increase our lean muscle mass. We want to get strong. We want to improve our overall bone density. We want to improve our tendon strength. We want to improve the strength of our joints. We want to improve our general strength for general life. So weight training is the key cornerstone of that. The beauty of weight training is for every kilo of lean muscle you put on, you significantly increase your overall metabolism. So if we put on a kilo of lean muscle mass, and that is metabolically active tissue, it requires oxygen, nutrients, blood supply. If you're sitting around watching TV or driving in your car or you're asleep in your bed and you have a kilo of lean muscle mass that you've been able to increase your body weight by, then you have a faster metabolism than if you didn't have it. So by increasing our muscle mass, we're increasing our metabolism. Now, a lot of people just think about weight training and they think, well, I'm going to be burning a lot of calories while I'm actually performing the exercise. However, if we take it one more step further, then we look at the recovery process that's involved after weight training and how weight training can really be such an important fundamental tool when it comes to reducing your overall body fat levels. You burn a lot of energy in the gym training with weights, there's no question about it. While you're in the gym training with weights, a couple of things happen. First up, we damage the muscle fibers, we cause little micro tears from lifting weights. And secondly, we use our muscle glycogen stores, and that's that form of energy that we store in the muscles that's pretty much available instantly when we need it. So we've just trained in the gym, we walk out of the gym and we've got sore muscles that have been broken down on a very minute level, and we've also got a very depleted muscle glycogen storage. So straight away, both those things need to be rectified and the body will get straight into the recovery process. So we replenish our muscle glycogen stores fairly quickly over the next about 24 hours. So our muscle glycogen stores get replenished and that takes energy in the form of carbohydrates away from our body. Secondly, that recovery process, that inflammatory response that weight training causes. I'm sure we've all seen the extreme version of it with DOMS, or delayed onset of muscle soreness. It normally comes about from the eccentric portion of lifting weights in the gym. So the eccentric portion being when the muscle lengthens under load. Now that soreness means the body is going to repair and recover that soreness and hopefully grow some new and stronger muscle tissue. And that's going to take quite a lot of protein, and that's why we eat a high protein diet. But again, it's going to take even more energy. So when you've left the gym for about 72 hours after your training session, you're burning more energy because you trained with weights than if you hadn't have. And it's not just because of the actual weight training session itself, it's because of that recovery response that the body goes through. Now, if we then sort of had a look at cardio as a training tool for body recomposition, as you all know, cardio, aerobic endurance or cardiovascular, when we're working the heart, when we've got that elevated breathing rate, we burn more energy obviously because we're moving at a faster rate. And a lot of people think that cardio is the best tool when it comes to body fat reduction. Cardio will utilize a higher amount of fat for energy purposes than say weight training will while we're performing the exercise. However, when we're doing cardio, generally speaking, it's going to be at a much lower intensity than weight training. So overall, while we may be burning more fat during cardio, we're not burning more calories, generally speaking, for a cardio session than a weight training session. The other thing that comes about from a cardio session is we get a beautiful benefit for cardiovascular health and aerobic endurance, but we don't really get a flow-on effect once the cardio is done in terms of any increases in our metabolic rate, apart from HIIT, apart from your high intensity interval training. We're talking torque test cardio here, so your steady state cardio. You burn a higher percentage of fat, but once the cardio is concluded, there's no benefit to your metabolism as such. There is the benefit to your heart, there is the benefit to your lungs, there is the benefit to your aerobic endurance, but there's no more benefit in terms of energy expenditure. So we can see now that cardio can be beneficial for improving our body composition by pushing us further into a calorie deficit for the day. Remembering a calorie deficit is where we don't take in as many calories as what the body uses. However, weight training is going to burn more total calories. It's going to increase our lean muscle mass. Now, from a visual point of view, most people want to increase their lean muscle mass by a small margin, and they want to drop their body fat by a small margin. Weight training will do both in the same hit. It's going to increase your lean muscle mass by developing the muscle. At the same time, with all the energy that it uses during the session and after the session, we're going to burn through a lot of energy, which will result in hopefully reduced body fat levels. Now, one of the things that happens when you enter a calorie deficit, so you're not taking in as many calories as what your body's using for the day, we deplete our muscle glycogen stores, and that's that form of usable energy that we have that's almost instantly available in the muscles. We only have a small amount of it, and it's utilized during, say, weight training. If we're in a deficit, we're going to use the muscle glycogen stores for energy very quickly. The thing is, for every gram of muscle glycogen that's stored in our muscles, we store another 2.2 grams of water inside the muscle. It's the good looking water that makes you look nice and full, nice and hard, makes you look like you train with weights. Now, if that gets depleted straight away when you start a diet because you're into a calorie deficit, the first thing that you're going to notice is your muscles don't look as full. Most people, when they start a diet, after a week or so, they've lost a lot of scale weight because they've lost a lot of fluid entering into a calorie deficit, and they look in the mirror and they're not happy with what they see because the muscles appear deflated, and what that means is the body fat stands out more. So basically, you've started a diet, you're into it for a week, you look in the mirror and you look terrible. Now, I call this phase the skinny fat stage, the skinny fat phase. You have depleted muscle glycogen stores, you've lost all that fluid inside the muscle, you've still got the same amount of body fat, it just looks like you've lost muscle mass and you've gotten fatter. That is very, very common. Everybody goes through it, the skinny fat stage, and it's one of the reasons why most people will not follow through on a diet after a couple of weeks. They get that quick result with the fluid loss, so on the scales it looks good. However, when they look in the mirror, they look terrible, and they feel terrible too because they're into a big calorie deficit. They weren't expecting to feel a particular way, and they don't look good, and they break from the diet straight away. Now, the reason why I mention this is because if you're in a calorie deficit continuously or continually for a period of time, and you're trying to drop your body fat, body has a very, very unique way that it likes to adapt to a calorie deficit. So basically, straight away, we drop the muscle glycogen stores, like I said, we drop the fluid, we've got the same amount of body fat. But if we were to continue along that same path, the body will adapt and overcome quite quickly. First up, we'll start utilizing our stored body fat for energy. So we'll start reducing the amount of total body fat we have. And secondly, by training with weights, like I said, you utilize your stored muscle glycogen for energy during your weight training session. So by training with weights, we encourage our muscle glycogen stores to be replenished, and also for our muscle glycogen stores to have the ability to supercompensate. And that is to store more muscle glycogen than they would normally because we're training with weights. When that happens, we start to get that nice full look. The muscles start looking nice and full. Over the next couple of weeks, the body fat will start to reduce and we'll start to look even better than what we did when we started. It takes a couple of weeks for this cycle to go through. Generally speaking, if there was somebody who was training with me and they wanted to drop body fat, we'd go through that first skinny fat stage, and then what we do is we continually go through those skinny fat stages of entering a calorie deficit, either by increasing the amount of total work that we're doing, increasing the amount of lean muscle mass that we have on our body, or by dropping the amount of calories that we're consuming for each day. Just out of interest, if anyone out there is interested, if you're dieting for a bodybuilding show, I like to basically push through those skinny fat stages until you look really good when you're really flat. So when your muscle glycogen stores are really depleted and you're looking good, it's a very good sign that you're ready to step up on stage. Now, The reason why I wanted to talk to you about that is because the body recomposition process can be quite confusing. You know, a lot of people will think, well, I'm not doing as much cardio as what I thought, or I'm training with weights, but I don't want to be a bodybuilder, or I've just gone into a calorie deficit. I've started my diet, but I just look like I've lost muscle mass. It's all a process, and it can all be quite confusing, and that's why you have a Shenbury PT trainer who's going to always look over your results and guide you along the way. Of course, if you have any questions, shoot them through. Always happy to help. But just remember, it is a bit of a process. So we'll start by training with weights, which is going to increase our lean muscle mass. By increasing our lean muscle mass, we're going to increase our metabolism. We use some cardio to promote cardiovascular health and fitness, aerobic endurance, but also as a bit of a tool to burn some more calories for the day. The best tool for dropping overall calories is going to come from weight training. Cardiovascular training or cardio will burn a slightly higher percentage of fat while you're doing the exercise. However, the total calories used for the exercise will be lower in most cases than somebody training with weights. And also, once you finish the cardiovascular training, in terms of continuing to use calories, it doesn't really do too much once you stop the exercise. Weight training, on the other hand, with that massive flow-on effect when the muscle glycogen stores get replenished, and also as the body repairs and recovers in terms of the muscle that's been damaged during the training session, takes a lot of energy that will be utilized during and after weight training. Entering into a calorie deficit, suddenly one of the first things you're going to notice is your muscle glycogen stores get depleted. For every gram of muscle glycogen, you hold another 2.2 grams of water. And so if you enter a calorie deficit fairly quickly, you're going to lose a lot of water. Your muscles are going to appear to be deflated, but you still have the same amount of body fat that you have. It's called the skinny fat stage, and everyone goes through it when they enter a diet. The key is just to push through the skinny fat stage, and your muscle glycogen stores will rebalance, and at the same time you'll have dropped even more body fat and you'll be looking better than when you started. So anyway, a bit of a background about the whole body recomposition process. You know the drill. If you've got any questions, shoot them through Luke at Shenbury PT. Hopefully everyone's enjoying these videos, and I'll be back again next week.